let me go over, no, I want to do this. It's right there. And then I go sales and enhance soft logos. I find the holiday logos. And what are we? How Father's Day? Father's Day sounds. Oh no, these are just videos now. St. Pat's Day, Valentine's Day, New Year's Day, Halloween. How about Halloween? Does Halloween work? So set as background. How's that? Oh, it's a little dark, but
no, I like it.
I kind of like it, but I think it needs to be a light background. And, you know, this seems like a really dumb thing to try to do live. But I'm trying to convince our marketing person, Chelsea, that we should do similar logos for Recast. So
We need to work on that.
mm-hmm.
On another note, we are live on YouTube. And looks like we have about 2 minutes until we'll get started.
Awesome. Sounds good.
Yeah. Or do I go back over here and say, what else do I have in here? I have, oh, Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is, let's do set as background. Did I must not, oh, there we go. There's Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
I don't have Canada Day or Independence Day as a logo yet. So it's one of these desktop things. Actually, this one's not bad.
One of these days, Garth.
Yeah, one of these days.
One of these days.
Yeah. Hey, look, I'm just happy. I'm not sure if you can see, but I've got a Recast shirt going on here today. So
Good work.
Thanks, Steve, about that. The transparency on the logo. I like this too. It's little things. So
Right.
So it is top of the hour. I'm going to suggest we wait about another minute. I swear I haven't started drinking other than coffee for the day. And we'll get started just to give people a chance to get in with all the things. Oh, one of my favorite MMS people is here. I don't think she was seeing how I was telling everybody they need to go to MMS this October. That it's a fantastic conference, that the product team comes and will actually code things for you live. It is really, with all the COVID lockdowns, I'm really excited to travel again. And I'm really hoping that one of my first trips is to MMS Miami. I'm really hoping that it will be, for me, because I'm up in Canada, I'm just waiting for the border to open up and then I can go across. But I'm really hoping to go. And I really encourage all of you guys to check it out. I believe it's you and 250 of your closest friends. You have lots of time to actually talk to the product team. They actually have sessions where you can actually book a meeting for them. I'll say it's 10 minutes, maybe 20 minutes. And it gives you an opportunity to talk to them about your problems. They will give you ideas or take that as an idea for them to work on. So
Great. I think we're up. I think we can just about get started. Garth, what do you think?
Sure. Let's go for it.
Awesome. Very good. Well, welcome everybody. Do we have some slides that we're gonna show?
I forgot about slides.
Well, welcome everybody. My name is Marty.
I'm Garth.
That's Garth. We're gonna put up some slides. We only had 15 or 20 minutes to prepare for this, so that's probably why it's not quite up yet.
Yeah, well, we'll keep talking while I get some slides.
Excellent. So what we're going to talk about today is we have got some config manager problems that maybe you didn't even know you had. Some tips, some tricks that we've used that we've come up with that might help you as you're doing config manager things, which is what you're doing. No pressure here at all, Garth. There it is. Look at that. All right. So config manager problems you didn't even know you had. And we're also going to help you with how to fix them as well. So awesome. Again, I am Marty Miller. I waited so that I could see what my title was because it recently has changed. I was on the customer success team previously, and I am now solution engineer here at Recast Software. And this might be the official first announcement on the worldwide webs of video conferencing and whatever that we can introduce Garth as the senior architect of Endpoint Insights, also for Recast Software. So we welcome Garth. We're glad to have him as part of our organization, and we're really excited with all the things all the knowledge and just everything that Garth brings. To Recast. We're really excited. Very good. Did you have any words you wanted to say, Garth?
Well, thanks for that warm welcome. Yeah, it's been an interesting last few months for me. For those that don't know, I always say February 1st, EnhancedSoft has joined Recast. It has given us so much to take the EnhancedSoft product and bring it into the Recast product suite. I believe it was last 10 days ago, that it was officially announced the 15th of the month that Endpoint Insights is the new product suite name. And there's lots of exciting things to go on that. And I'd love to hear your feedback, you as the community's feedback on that. And I can assure you that there's lots to come. Look for it. I'm going to drop a little teaser and say probably next month there may be a webinar on this. And if you're lucky, I might show something in this thing. We'll see.
Very good. Awesome. All right. So today, I believe, if we move forward here, I believe we've got some.
I can get the slide.
There we go. We go ahead and go through what we're actually going to take a look at today. So here are the 5 config manager problems that we will solve. We'll take a look at today. Slow SQL performance, max MIF size reach. So if you have ever run into this where your MIF size has gotten too large, Garth will help you out with that on this one. We're going to talk a little bit about CM trace. They always say that I always thought, what's going on with CM trace? Well, we've got some information here. No data in config manager reporting. That's one of your problems. And we'll talk a little bit about why you need to enable asset intelligence. And then we will also finally talk about the Ccm cache, which, if you are like me, the slide actually says it's the bane of my existence. But there was a time in my life when I had to deal with the Ccm cache way more than I ever wanted to deal with. So we'll talk a little bit about what we can do and how we can help with the Ccm cache on there as well. Well, very good. If you do come up with any questions, please feel free. If you want to go ahead and put them in the chat, if you want to create a question, you can absolutely do that. I'll try and watch. Garth will try and watch, and then we'll hopefully answer some questions as we go through.
Great.
Very good. So I'm going to hand it over to Garth. You got the first one.
Great. So SQL Server. As everybody knows, Configuration Manager is based on SQL Server. And if SQL Server itself is slow, everything in Configuration Manager is slow. It doesn't matter if you are trying to deploy software updates, do a report, everything. And it's actually really quite simple to solve this. There is a script called Ola Halogram. And you'll notice at the bottom, there is a URL for all this thing. I believe that we're going to send out a email with all of these links so you don't have to copy them down hurriedly. But what the script does is it basically checks the health of your database and updates the indexes, the statistics, and generally gets the performance in place. So the question becomes is how do you actually run this product? So somebody's editing my slides live. So once you install the Hologram script on your site, you open up SQL Server Management Studio, and the first thing I'm going to tell you to do is go into the properties of it and set a schedule on it. Now you'll notice here that I've got this at 2:57 a.m. in the morning. Why 2:57 a.m. in the morning? Well, first off, I never do anything on the hour, quarter hour, or half hour. That's because Configuration Manager is probably already doing something. Number two, why around 3 o'clock in the morning? The reason for that is strictly because Configuration Manager is likely to be done completely, and therefore I'm making sure that the health of this thing is ready for first thing in the morning. I encourage you to set the schedule on this to be appropriate for your environment, meaning if you're an international company, 3 o'clock in the morning may be a bad time somewhere else in the world. So figure out what's a good time. But I like to do it where it's early enough in the morning that the start of my day, everything is as healthy as it humanly can be. The second thing I wanted to show you on this thing is how do you run it manually? It's great. And the simple thing is you click on the index user databases. So if you remember from the slide, I say you want to run the hologram on the Configuration Manager SQL Server, your WSUS SQL Server, and your SSRS/Power BI report server. But all of those have different databases. Ultimately, you want to run this on all of them to get the most performance. And the simplest way to run it manually is to right click and say start job at step. I don't know why it says it that way. It seems very awkward, but there you go. This will run the first time you run this, particularly if your site has a high index counts on it. It will take a long time. So be prepared for that. You can run this live in your environment. It will slightly slow it down, but not too bad. But once you get it indexed the first time and healthy the first time, it really doesn't take a long time. In my environment, you're looking at about 2-3 minutes for the whole thing to run. I strongly encourage you to look at the blog post. The blog post gives you effectively a step-by-step guide on how to do that.
Now remind me, Garth, did you say that this script does get updated every so often? So it's something that you want to check newer versions and things like that as you start using it?
So when you go for different versions of SQL, yes, you want to do it. I'm apparently on a brand new laptop that doesn't have Zoom-it on it, so I'm going to stall while I try to grab the Zoom-it from the web and install it on my laptop live, and I'm hoping that it's not going to actually require UAC on the whole thing because did it just download? Because, as a good presenter, you really should have that in place, but apparently, of course, my internet's running like a dog here. Let me see if I can do it the other way. Oh, here we go, finally. All right, let's open a file. I apologize for this. This should have been. So just remind me, Marty, when we're doing your stuff and you need the Zoom it. All right, so did I get it installed here? All right, where did Zoom it go? Because I installed it on the desktop and I go, okay. And then I go Control F1, wrong screen. And I go like this.
All right.
So sorry. So what it was is once you install the script, it will go under SQL agent under jobs, and we go down to the optimize user databases, and that's the one that. Sorry about that. I think it was Jeff. I've lost track of things now. I moved things around and did that live.
That was the secret sixth thing we could fix for you.
Yeah, that's the secret bonus one. You Zoom it in a
You're right.
presentation. Normally it's on my laptop, but since I've come to Recast, I've got a new laptop. So there you go. So let me go back to my slide deck and apparently it closed down. So I strongly encourage, if you haven't looked at the old Halogran stuff, I strongly encourage you to look at it. I believe Chelsea has dropped in the chat window the link to the old Halogran. Read over the whole thing and install it on all of your configuration manager SQL servers that you manage. So the second one that I'm going to talk about is the maximum MIF size. Now, I believe it was 2003 version, the max MIF size was about 5 meg. That basically means that when you did a hardware inventory and you exceeded 5 meg, it was rejected. It would never get entered in. And what would end up happening is the clients would then be told to do a resync. And of course, they would send up another over 5 meg. And of course, that would get rejected and you'd end up in an infinite loop. Around 2003, the product team, me and a number of other MBBs talked to them and convinced them that they need to increase that size. So they've increased it to 10 megs on this thing. I don't believe that's large enough, but that's open for discussion. So the solution to this thing is to move your max MIF size up to 50 megs. So again, there's another blog post. It gives you the step-by-step, but I'm actually going to go through this live on here. So first off, let me see there, my indexing is done. I'm going to bring up my ConfigMan console, which I don't know why it's slow right. Oh, here we go. So you can see I was doing my preload in here, and you can see that you got the inventory was moved to blah, blah, blah. Oh, there it is. That it exceeded the size limit in this. Now, this is the delta. Where's the full inventory one? There. So the inventory has exceeded the full size limit. And yes, I dropped it down to 800 bytes. So the way to solve that is to go regedit. You go down to your data loader. So HKey local machine software, Microsoft, SMS components, and then your SMS inventory data loader. In there, there's a key called max MIF. What you want to do is expand it, and by default, you want to make it 50 megs decimal. which works out to, because I've got a great memory, but it's short. I'm going to go to my cheat sheet and grab it and put it back to decimal and paste it. So all of this is covered off in the blog. However, I do believe I do it in hex, which is 3.2 million, I believe it is, because it's in bytes. I click OK. Once you do that, the trick after that is to take the SMS exec service and restart it. That will trigger it, so you're no longer getting the max MIF size, and it will take you up to 50 megs, and therefore you will not end up with the bad MIFs in the forever cycle of recycling. However, if you hit the 50 meg limit, you can't go beyond it. It is a hard-coded limit in the product, and as such, if you do hit it, let me know so that I can go chase after the product team, or let DJAM and company know on Twitter that you've hit it and why you've hit it, because I think it should be increased to much more than 50 meg.
Hey Garth, where were you looking to see that those errors where it was hitting the MIF size?
So sorry. So under monitoring site status component, and then you'll see that the SMS data inventory loader is there. And if you go show all error messages there, because I think I already have it open, is why it's not, oh, or actually we'll open up again. So you can see all the errors in here. And because I cranked it way down to 800 bytes, everything in my environment is complaining. I should point out, one of the ways to solve it is once you do it, in theory, it will self-solve itself by sending up new inventory. But what I tend to do when that happens is to go to my all desktops and servers, go down to the right-click tools, client actions, hardware inventory, and this is supposed to pop up. And there we go. And yeah, later. I tell it to do a full inventory. The only caveat about that is my environment's 44 computers, so I can do that. If you have 10,000 computers, you might want to try it to let it fix itself first. In theory, it should fix itself, but I normally just run the whole thing. And so what if you got a backlog and you got 10,000 computers? So, thanks, Marty. Sorry about that.
No, that's great. There is one additional question. We only have a few devices where their MIF sizes are going over 10 meg. Is there a way to do those without having to enable it for everything?
No, you have to do it for everybody. It's an all or nothing scenario. And I would encourage you to go straight up to the 50 meg. You, in theory, can go anywhere in between, but why? You're ending up with using more network, more CPU, more client resyncs. Just go straight up to the 50 meg and be done with it. Not worry about it.
Cool. Very good. We'll move. If there's anything else, we'll hold just for 30 seconds before we go to the next one. Another question came through, do these fixes have to be done in any particular order? No, absolutely they don't. If there's something that you think, oh my gosh, that would be super helpful in our environment, go ahead and do that. But you don't need to necessarily do these in any order. They're kind of standalone, and then just make sure you're aware of what might happen. Like Garth said, with you're not going to want to do a full inventory, full hardware inventory and everything all at once after. So just make sure you're not impacting your environment in a negative way. I always try and keep my head down as a config manager admin. Very good.
So that should bring us up to.
Yeah, absolutely. So CM Trace. CM Trace. So, oh my gosh, how many hours have you all spent in CM Trace? And if you aren't spending tons of hours in there, either God bless you or you will be soon. a couple of years ago, everybody was excited about something called OneTrace, right? That was coming out, and it came out with Support Center, and it was like, oh, we're going to do everything in OneTrace. And then I started using it, and I was like, this doesn't feel like what I'm used to with CM Trace. I wonder if it's okay if I keep using it. And I think the Config Manager development team has absolutely answered that question. Because there's a couple of interesting things that have happened with CM Trace. First of all, it is still being updated. If you actually look in the Tech Preview 2104 notes for Config Manager, it says that there are performance improvements. I've actually started using it because I didn't realize there were many updates or that it was still being updated, and it does actually seem to be able to load larger files faster. One of the things that we have on here, it's not just for Config Manager. We use it a ton with right-click tools and with the Recast management server as well. Just to see all the different, I mean, it's so nice how everything, all your errors are highlighted, your warnings are highlighted, and it's really easy to take a look at all of that stuff. But sometimes we get super huge logs that would just take, I'd start it and then I'd go get coffee, and then I'd use the restroom, and then I'd come back, and then it was finally finished loading the logs. That seems to have been improved. So I think that's a good thing, and it is still being updated. The next thing that we're going to mention is that it is ubiquitous, meaning if your computer has a Config Manager client on it, your computer has CM Trace on it, whether you realize it or not. And I'm super excited about this idea, right? So if you go into the CCM folder on your Windows, there is, inside Windows CCM, there is a CM Trace installation in every single computer that has the Config Manager client on it. So no more going back and trying to find it in the tools folder inside of your Config Manager installation. Cool. One other thing that we wanted to point out, and this has been something that I've seen a couple of different times, but I think it's worth repeating. So we kind of gave you a little sneak peek of what we're going to show you here. But so in CM Trace, when you have errors, all errors flag as red, right? If it's failed or error or something like that, it's going to flag as red. If you have warnings, generally those will flag as yellow. Not sure if we have any warnings in this log. We may not.
Yeah.
But those will generally flag as yellow. You can also, if you've never done this before, you can actually highlight things as well. So if you want to find a specific section, if maybe you're looking for success because you're really excited about your life today and you want to see all your successes. So you can actually go ahead and highlight those as well. Now, the interesting thing with highlighting is when you do it by default, highlight also chooses yellow, which we were just talking, so highlight by default will look like this. It'll come up as yellow, which isn't super helpful because warning is also coming up as yellow. However, if you go into preferences here and that use this color for highlighting log entries, and go ahead and grab something else, something that looks different. We chose pink here. And so now any of our successes will go ahead and show up as that different color. So just kind of a nice way to see things a little bit differently, and even make CM Trace go a little bit further beyond what you've been doing in the past, potentially. Cool. Aha, no data in Config Manager reporting. You may have noticed a little bit of a theme with our Mac Smith talking about reporting, and here with Config Manager reporting. One of the things that Recast Software with our friends and now our colleagues that with EnhancedSoft have been working on is looking at reporting and getting more information about that kind of stuff. So there is some things that you need to enable in your environment. The Asset Intelligence Inventory classes. If those aren't enabled in your environment, your reports probably look a little bit empty, actually, when you go ahead and take a look at them. So What we mean is, what you can actually do is inside your config manager console here, under assets and compliance, if you go to the asset intelligence section and you click on that, I believe. Very good.
Things are slow for someone.
Okay.
Leonard must be doing something in the environment. So I'm trying to keep up with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll slow down a little bit. Up at the top there, you have the edit inventory classes. And what it's going to pop up with when you come into edit inventory classes is it is going to, if this hasn't been enabled, this is going to look very blank in your environment. When you first install, all of these inventory classes are going to be completely empty. What you can actually see here, though, is if when Garth hovers over these, you can actually see which of the reports inside of the reporting node are actually using each of these inventory classes. So as you go down, if you're wondering, why isn't my primary computer users report working correctly, check to make sure that the SMS system console user is enabled and that kind of a thing. Now, the other thing that's interesting here, so if you actually notice, we have the SMS software shortcut that is not selected. If you hover over that, it'll actually show you that it's not currently used to support any intelligence reports. And Garth, what are your thoughts on enabling this?
Don't. The simple answer is don't enable. Let me see if I can zoom it. Don't enable anything but so enable everything but this one. The reason for that is if you have any Citrix boxes or terminal servers or anything like that, what ends up happening is your hardware inventory will exceed the 50 megs, and there's nothing you can do about it. So turning off this class will bring the inventory down into a much more reasonable size. And this is part of the reason why there's a hard cap of 50 meg on the inventory across the board. A couple of things to notice, things like browser objects. This is a fairly new one so that you can get things about which browser you have on things or what software has auto-started in your environment. By default, most of these classes are turned off. I strongly encourage people to enable it. And a matter of fact, Endpoint Insights does leverage a number of these classes to give you better reporting, because Configuration Manager is really nice, but some of the reports are not so nice. So let's see if I can do a slight teaser in here. And where am I? Software, browser dashboard. So as you know, under the EnhancedSoft umbrella, we've done a number of reports around browser objects. This is one of them that was recently updated to include more, which will show you who's got your default browser, what's your installed browsers, and what's your browser objects. So this is one of the reports on the sets that you can get, and it allows you to drill through and see who has what within your environment. That's my tiny teaser, because we want you to come to the next webinar. So,
awesome.
Okay, we have one question in the thing. Let me see. Have you seen the identification by slow down? It seems as so one of the things that we didn't really talk about is the synchronization point within the asset intelligence. I haven't noticed. So when you install asset intelligence, there's two actual major components to it. One is you enable the class, which gets you extra inventory. The second one is around all of the software that's in here and what's being categorized. So you can actually get down software and whether it's being categorized. And this is an asset intelligence sync point, I believe is the official title for it. I haven't seen it take longer for them to do anything on it, but DJam's team is managing it. So if you are seeing slowdowns on it, I encourage you to tweet them and ask them about it, because at the end of the day, they report to his team and he can answer that question. But I haven't seen anything, but I haven't been looking for it either. So how's that for the answer?
So yeah, I think it's interesting just looking at what you've got showing right here. So what we're talking about is that asset inventory role that you can assign to your site server. And if you look, yeah, we've got some that have been identified by Microsoft, obviously. We've got one apparently that was identified by the administrator, co-administrator. We have 76 that are pending online identification. And then we have 114 that are unidentified and not pending. So as I'm reading this, pending online identification, one of the things that this asset intelligence role can do is it will actually send information to Microsoft to say, hey, can you identify what this is? And then Microsoft does their magic on the backside and then sends it back and says, now it'll go into that identified by Microsoft section rather than in the unidentified section.
Yeah, so one of the things that you have to remember is that when you, I believe it's under software inventory, this is not automatically submitted to Microsoft. You, as an administrator, have to submit it. So part of the reason why there are 114 is that I haven't submitted them to Microsoft for identification.
Gotcha.
So I believe I sort by state when I do this normally, and I go down to the bottom because I think I sorted them one way. There, is it uncategorized or unknown? I'll say uncategorized, and you literally take these two titles, right click, and say request an update. And what ends up happening is the more people who ask for this to be updated, so if one company asks for this to be updated, it's going to be at the bottom list. But if hundreds of companies ask for this to be identified, Microsoft will identify this and do that.
Yeah. Great.
So there you go. So those ones have gone off to be identified from Microsoft on that.
Yes, and somebody mentioned you, and I think you had circled it. You can also click on the hyperlink to do that as well. Is that?
Oh, so it shows you.
Oh, it'll get you right to here.
It filters you the unidentified.
Yeah.
Excellent. I mean, I personally love how it's like Apple and all the Microsoft.
Yeah, there's some Microsoft stuff in there too. It's pretty hard to identify that.
Okay.
Very good.
How about Half-Life Deathmatch?
Gee, I wonder who installed that. Okay, so oh, that's good. All right, a couple of questions. We'll just clear out a couple of questions. Will this recording be available to view later? Yes, we will have this available to view later. If you want to, you can join us tomorrow. We're doing this exact same webinar tomorrow as well, so that will also be an option. And then I think, does this require software inventory to be enabled, or is accumulated with hardware inventory? And I think this is what we're talking about here with these pending identifications.
So asset intelligence uses hardware inventory only. It does not use software inventory at all. There was a question earlier that I wanted, or was it in the chat that I wanted to talk about? Endpoint has different product and you're currently subscribed to. Okay. So one of the questions is, if you're a Recast customer and you want to get endpoint insights, there's a simple answer with that. Endpoint insights as of, I believe, May 15th is now available for purchase through the Recast sales team. Talk to your sales team and they will help you out. And the question is there a bundled option? There is. And since I'm not a salesperson, I don't know the whole details. So contact your salesperson. So there's a question about browser. Does it include plugins and extensions? So the plugin that, or the AAI takes care of, I believe it's Internet Explorer extensions, plugins only. There you go. Are these reports free to download in our SCCM environment? So Endpoint Insights is an add-on to the Recast product line. Contact your salesman for more details about it. What was the, there's still one in here. Okay, so there is a question going back about the MIFs. This is the one I was looking for that I was trying to find. Is the symptom of MIFs the error, or is there a performance issue or other? So that's coming back to the max MIF size question. And I saw that one come just after we changed slides, so I was going to pick it up later. But the answer is a little loaded question. What ends up happening is the client gets into an infinite loop that it submits a hardware inventory, a full inventory, that gets rejected by the site server. The site server says, okay, now you have to resend a full inventory. So the client receives the message and says, oh, I'm supposed to do a full inventory. So it submits that, that gets rejected, and you end up in this whole infinite loop. What ends up happening is that consumes CPU cycles on the client, bandwidth across your from the client to the MP and the MP to your site server. And it also has a little bit on the site server because the site server will check the size first and then reject it and then generate that message. So you want to go up to the max size as soon as humanly possible.
And I'm guessing you probably see that the hardware inventory is lagging on those devices, right? You may see that a hardware inventory, the information on it is completely out of date. I would assume that.
Yeah. So your hardware inventory date will, so if I randomly pick a, just checking on time, make sure, yeah, we still have time. And of course, everything is running slow. I don't know why, but you'll see things like the hardware inventory date here saying the 24th. Well, I deliberately set up the thing so
they'd fail.
Yep. So it would fail, but ideally you would see that your policy and DDR would have current dates and time, and your hardware inventory would have a date in the past. And that's the only indication that you have it. So generally, when you go look for things, that's when you're going to see things. All right, so we got a couple other questions in. What log shows the max MIF error? That's the data loader log, and that's only because I know it off the top of my head. And that's on your site server. This is my CAS, so let me sneak over to my primary site because, you know, an environment with 40 computers has to have CAS. As he says sarcastically.
Yeah, for special people.
Yeah. So the data loader log on here will give an error message, and it should still be giving the error message because I didn't actually fix the max MIF size on this one, but you'll see that the error exceeds maximum defined. So you'll see that. So that one I think we've answered. And okay, so later, currently pending. Okay, I think we've answered all the outstanding questions. Did I miss any, or did you have any more that you wanted
No,
to add?
I think you're good.
All right. So let me find the PowerPoint slide. Number 5.
All right. Yes. CCM cache. So we talked a little bit about this and how this has been in the past, the bane of my existence. So just a quick story. I worked in an environment as a desktop admin and was in charge of making sure that computers did Windows updates through ConfigMgr, which, great, no problem. Sounds awesome. Someone in that infinite wisdom of this large organization had decided that they wanted to get the SSDs for all of their laptops, which was great because they're super fast, right? But they're kind of expensive compared to the spinny disks. This was a couple of years ago. So we probably shouldn't get any bigger than we absolutely need. So we had a lot of computers that had 128 gig hard drives, and that was all that they had. So even when we were trying to do things like Windows updates, and when we were trying to do things like even Windows updates or even like OS updates, we would run into so many drive size errors and as well CCM cache errors. So we eventually had ended up creating like a script and stuff that would run that would make sure that there was enough free space, and if there was enough free space would increase the CCM cache size and all that kind of stuff. So what we are going to talk just briefly here about is what some things you can do when the cache is actually full on your environment. So on a device in your environment. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually go back to Garth's beautiful ConfigMgr environment, and we are going to grab a device. And there's actually some information that we can see with the right-click tools that will actually show us a little bit more about what our CCM cache looks like. So we're going to look at the client information, actually, which is the 4th one down there. Yeah, and this is actually a tool that's part of the free tools. And as part of the community edition, which is the free tools of right-click tools, you can run this on one device, and it will look exactly like we're doing it right now. If you have an enterprise license for the right-click tools, you can do this against multiple devices, and you can also do it against collections. So if you wanted to grab a whole collection and make sure that the cache was at a certain size or whatever, you could absolutely do that. So what Garth has selected here, this one that says cache, there's a couple of things that you can see. You can actually see if you drop that caret down that's on the left-hand side there, perfect. You can see the device that we're looking at, what the current used cache space is, what the available cache space is in percentage, and how much is being used. Oh, that's the percent cache is used. So there's like 68K or something left in their megs or something that's left in your cache space. So you've almost filled that one because it is 99% full if you take a look at that. So that's actually showing what's there. Great, now we have some information. What can we do with it? So on the right-hand side of this window, there's a couple of things. If you just want to go ahead and completely clear the cache, you absolutely can do that.
Sorry.
Garth. No, that's fine. Up at the top right there, if you just wanted to absolutely clear the cache, you could totally click on the one that says clear the cache right there. Absolutely. You could also change the cache size to a larger size if you'd like to. You could click that change cache size button right there, and it'll change it to whatever is on the right-hand side where Garth just hovered over, that 10240. When that happens, when you change the cache size and you reload this client information, it'll display it here that it's been changed immediately. It will show up on the device itself once the ConfigMgr client service restarts. Once that restarts, then it'll also show up on the client. But it will have changed right when you click change cache size, essentially. So you're saying to me, yes, exactly, but I have some things that I need in the cache, right? There are some things maybe that are already, you want to go ahead and keep in there. So what you can actually do is click on that cache details, which Garth clicked on earlier. And the nice thing that the cache details will do is it will actually look at what is in the cache. This is reaching out to the computer, doing it live, checking what's in the cache, and then actually matching it up with content in the ConfigMgr database. So you can see there is some content that actually exists. That security only update actually is a real thing. There are also ones, if you notice, that are showing as orphan content. And what orphan content means is that we have this GUID, the right-click tool is checked against the ConfigMgr database, and that content doesn't exist anymore. So it's still sitting in the cache, but for some reason hasn't gotten cleared out, but it's not needed. So if there were something, if you needed to get some space back, that honestly would be probably the easiest way that you could do it, or something that's the safest to delete, right? Because it's never going to be, ConfigMgr isn't going to ask for it because it doesn't know about it anymore. It just doesn't exist. It's something that's still just hanging out in the cache. So kind of a nice way, if you need to get really granular on a device, you could absolutely do that and go this way too. You might also check here just to see if things are in the cache that you hope they are. If something, are things downloading correctly? You could absolutely come here as well and check. Yep, just like that. Perfect. There's one other thing that I do want to show, and this is actually something that a customer that we worked with created, and I thought it was really, really interesting. So we actually had a customer who said, here's what I'd like to do. I would like to set up a recurring, so great, you guys can clear the cache. That's really cool. I would like to set up a time that, let's say the Monday before Patch Tuesday or whatever, whenever they start downloading their updates, the Monday before that, I want you to clear the cache on everything in my environment. Can you do that? And I said, sure, let's take a look and see what we can do. Well, Right-Click Tools has something that an automation tool that actually works really well for this situation. So if you right-click on a device, you can actually see the Right-Click Tools Builder and Right-Click Tools Runner. So if we go to Right-Click Tools Builder, we can very easily make a simple action that will clear essentially the cache of any devices you select or any collection that you select. It will just show what it looks like here real quick once this comes up. So the idea is that, as you can see, we've created just a real simple builder action that all it's going to do is clear the cache on the devices. So how builder works is it kind of creates a workflow that you can do on the devices that you select. So on the left-hand side, we have the name of the action. In the middle is where we're actually our workspace, where we're working with actions. And on the far right, we have all the recast actions that we can do. Those recast actions are actually what makes up the right-click tools. They're all the things that we do to do the right-click tools. So the clear cache one is obviously what we would use when you click that clear cache button. So you can actually search for actions on the right-hand side up underneath actions. So if we wanted to find where that clear cache one was, we could search for cache. And then we go, oh, it's underneath the ConfigMgr client one. And to drag something in or to use it, we simply drag it over. So if you, yep, perfect, exactly. Yeah, and then in order to get them as to be part of the action is you go ahead and grab that circle, drag them over to the next one, and then that becomes part of the action. Cool. Now, how the other thing is, well, then how do you run this? So we can go ahead and close this. We won't save it when it asks. And in order to create the actions, you do builder. To run the actions, you do runner. So if you go to right-click tools runner, and then you select, because we right-click on the device, that AAD device, that would be the device that we're doing this action against. And it's going to come up with our clear Ccm cache folder. We can select it, hit next, and then it is going to ask us if we want to do it immediately. And because Garth has a recast management server in his environment, we can actually schedule it to happen in the future. So going back to our customer who was like, hey, how can I make this happen at a specific date or a specific time? This is how essentially we did it. We ended up setting it for like, the 30th of the month or so, the 30th, and then repeat interval was every 30 days or something like that, so that we could actually make it so that those actions happen when we want them to, essentially, and we can call it whatever the task we want to call it. Perfect. And then, yep, and then to actually get it to run, you basically just click that finish button, because there's nothing else for us to enter here, and with any luck, yay, it'll go ahead and do it. So essentially, it's going to create a schedule to do that, and you can also create it as a recurring schedule as well. So this is one, if I could have had a recurring schedule to do it this easily, it would have been really nice. We did a lot of weird things with scripting and trying to get those to run as administrators and stuff, but this works real well.
So Marty, I see that we have 8 minutes left, and there's at least one question here that is
Absolutely.
relevant. So let's see. The question is, isn't the Sccm cache cleared automatically?
Yeah, it's supposed to be. That I would say, yeah, absolutely. It is totally supposed to be cleared automatically. Does that happen in practice? Mostly, but sometimes it doesn't. And sometimes you may need additional space that's, essentially, yeah, it is supposed to be. It doesn't always happen the way that you would expect it to. And that's why that tool essentially exists. Also, things can be marked as persistent that you didn't mean to be marked as persistent that you may need to deal with as well. Yeah, good question.
So one of the other questions, is there a way to take the Orphan content and clear it on all devices? I see that as a builder runner script. You would know far better than me how you can or cannot do that.
Yeah, that would be something that would be fun to take a look at. And now that you brought it up, I may have to do that. I know we can get information about the content, and we can also do conditions. So I'll maybe get back to you there on if we can actually do that, Edward, and how we would make that happen. But good point. That would be nice too.
So sorry, I just lost that one. There we go. Done. Is the Recast server mandatory for scheduled tasks?
It is for most scheduled tasks. There are some that are still part of the regular right-click tools. So like if you wanted to schedule a reboot, that's actually part of the or just part of the right-click tools. But if you're doing something with the right-click tools builder, then yes, you need to have the Recast management server for that.
Okay. I recently configured the Sccm cache limits in the admin client settings. Will this update the client settings on machines with it already installed? Is there a way to force it? I believe the answer is it's now a policy and it will update automatically. You proverbially don't have to do anything. My only question is, does the service have to restart, or will it happen? That's the only one I don't know, but I know it's a policy, so it will.
Yep, it should update.
Can the Sccm location be changed? Apparently, everybody loves the cache one. So the answer
is the bane of my existence, Garth. Come on.
Yes. So yes, the Sccm cache location can be changed. You can do it both in the setup. You can also do it on the client itself through those two settings. Yep. All right. Regarding Recast Runner, can you please give us some in-depth what it does in the background, like run a script to run it? So yeah. Keep in mind that we have 4 minutes left and we got a pile of questions left.
Absolutely. Right-click tools runner, when you run the action, it is essentially, you can set it up with so if you're running it from your local machine, if you're in a standalone environment, it's going to run straight from your machine and it's going to do the action against the other machine. If you're doing it in a Recast management server environment and you have a proxy, it's going to run it from that proxy directly to the device that you're running the action on. It gets scheduled on your Recast management server.
Okay.
Is that fast enough, Garth?
Yeah. So tomorrow's webinar is a repeat of today's exact same thing. Although if you have more questions, feel free to join us and we'll do that.
Oh, and I think I answered this one. Does the Recast scheduler schedule a job at the client PC? No, you'll actually see it. It shows up on the Recast management server when you do the scheduler. And then because it will run then from the management server to the device that it's running the action on.
Okay. So then there's a question in here about the indexing and whether or not you can trust the Ola Hallegren script. Because the Ola Hallegren script is online, you can actually read the exactly what it does, so you can figure out if you trust it or not. Don't take my word for it. Literally read it. You know, it's all about the trust scenario. So read that. Are any free reports that we can download? So currently in Endpoint Insights, there are not the monthly giveaways. I strongly encourage you to let the Recast Twitter account or Facebook account know if you'd like to see that come back. And more importantly, what you'd like to see with that. And then there was one last one about the MIF size error messages. If I go under, what is it? It's monitoring, component, and component, and where's my data loader? Sorry, my inventory one. And I go back to my viewers. So one of the other questions is there's a sad face about the new no front monthly giveaways. Again, I'm not saying that they won't come back. I'm just saying they're not in the immediate future. And I encourage you to let the Recast Twitter account or live or Facebook account know. So to answer the MIF ID one is it's 2719, 2715. I'm sure I've got a 2715 in here. Maybe I don't have a 2715, so I don't know what that one is off the top of my head, but
down below.
Down below? Oh, so I do.
Yep.
That's just the resync message that says, resyncing the client. It's not necessarily mean that you run into an infinite loop, but so for an example, hardware inventory, if you submit a hardware inventory to the MP and it's older than 14 days, it's automatically rejected and it's automatically told to do a resync. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just helps, shows the sign, but the 2719 does that. And they were so good. Well, thank you. We worked hard at doing the report giveaways every month. And look at that. It's exactly 10 o'clock according to my clock here. Are there any questions or chats that I've missed? Oh, we got one new chat that I haven't seen. So before I go, we have to do the poll. So
yes.
Relaunch the poll. So the poll is, we want you guys to tell us what type of sessions you guys want to know more about. Again, I encourage you guys to talk to our Twitter account or Facebook account. Send me an email directly if you're so inclined. Marty an email directly. It doesn't matter. We'll be. We want to see what you guys want to do on this thing. Whether it's grabbing people like Brian and myself to talk about software updates, whether it's Leonard and myself talking about reporting, whether or not we go and try to grab somebody like Sherry Kissinger and myself to talk about extending your inventory. We want to hear what it is, particularly if you've got stuff that is not on this list, let us know in the chat, email us, whatever. We'll be creating and handling drivers. Packages. What do you want to know about packages? But yeah, UPN drivers. So all of these things, Chelsea, who's been really quiet on this, is our marketing person who can deep dive into DRS replication. So that doesn't directly fall in the SCCM world. I'll see what we can do, but we're trying to focus on the CM world. So let's see who's the winner on this one here. Oh, look at that. How to do a software update audit is winning along tied now with the Power BI SSRS report ones. Well, as you guys probably know, I literally did write the book on how to do a reporting in SCCM. And there's lots of blog contents on how to do Power BI and SSRS that we've done. I'm encouraged to see what you guys want to see, how to bring style back in the office. So I'm going to close off this poll, and shall we share the result? I'll share the results. Sure. So you guys get to see what your number one is, how to do a software audit. So that sounds like the Brian and Gar show gets a repeat on that. And then as for the reporting one, Leonard and myself, I could see us doing that one.
Awesome.
And then anything to do with software updates or drivers is not going to be me.
But we can find somebody who does know how to do
Yeah,
that good stuff.
that I can tell you.
Awesome. Well, we're going to wind up here. Just a couple of notes. So just a reminder that the one tomorrow will be the same as today, except I'd probably be wearing a different shirt. And also, go ahead and keep on the lookout for more upcoming webinars. We don't have them scheduled quite yet, but we are definitely looking at doing one on the endpoint insights reporting that will be coming very, very soon. So we can show you all what that looks like. We're really excited to be able to show you all that and what it looks like. Awesome.
So if there's nothing else, we're going to let this thing go. And
All right.
We'll talk to you guys, well, some of you tomorrow if you show up.
All right. Sounds great, everybody. Thank you.